tripping, I be quick to whip that Glock out. I just bought a 223 for my lip bam bam.
You good shit. You got something to say. You go to bed, you get out of here. Your sister use your stuff. She show me what you talking about. Really?
What the fuck going on? King bend over everything. You cool going on?
Right now.
On a quiet September night in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, the air is thick with the lingering heat of summer, and the 2,900 block of Joyce Drive hums with the ordinary sounds of family life. Kids finishing homework, TVs flickering, and dinner plates clinking. But in an instant, that calm shatters. Gunshots tear through the night, piercing the front door of a modest home. Inside, a mother's voice falls silent forever. Her children, frozen in terror, witness the unthinkable. This is not just a crime story. This is the story of Brenda Mullens, a woman whose courage and love for her family cost her everything. And the man responsible? A local rapper on the run, his life a volatile mix of music, violence, and desperation. Welcome to Dark Truth Files, where we uncover the truth behind the cases that continue to haunt us. Tonight, we dive into a tragedy that shook a community to its core, a story of domestic violence, a fugitive's unchecked rage, and a mother's unbreakable stand in the face of fear. This isn't just a story. It's a painful reminder of how far someone will go to escape justice, and how strong one woman had to be to face it. Before we begin, I want to thank you for being here. Your time, your attention, it matters. If you believe these stories deserve to be heard, if you believe in shining a light where others look away, please consider subscribing to this channel. Like the video and turn on notifications so you never miss a case that demands to be told. Together, we can make sure these voices are not forgotten. On September 16th, 2020, at approximately 10:28 p.m., the Baton Rouge Police Department received a flood of 911 calls reporting gunshots on Joyce Drive. Neighbors, startled awake, described a heated argument followed by the unmistakable crack of gunfire. By the time officers arrived, 40-year-old Brenda Mullens lay dying, struck by bullets fired through her own front door. Her 3 children, witnesses to the horror, were left to pick up the pieces of a life forever altered. The suspect? Bentley, a 24-year-old rapper known as Juice Bentley, already wanted for a string of violent crimes. But this wasn't a random act of violence. Brenda and Bentley knew each other, a connection marked by conflict, danger, and ultimately, a fatal collision of choices. This case isn't just about a single night of violence. It's about the devastating ripple effects of domestic abuse, the failure of systems to intervene before it's too late, and the courage of a woman who refused to compromise her values, even when it meant staring down a loaded gun. Brenda's story is a stark reminder that behind every headline is a human life, a mother, a friend, a vibrant soul whose loss is still felt deeply in Baton Rouge. And as we unravel this case, we'll ask, could this tragedy have been prevented? What warning signs were missed? And how does a community heal when one of its own is taken so brutally? Over the next 20 minutes, we'll take you inside the life of Brenda Mullens, a woman whose authenticity and strength defined her. We'll walk you through the chilling timeline of that fateful night, introduce the volatile suspect whose music glorified the violence he lived, and uncover the twists that led to a month-long manhunt across state lines. We'll also explore the investigation that brought justice and the legacy Brenda left behind, a legacy that's changing how Baton Rouge confronts domestic violence. Before we begin, hit that like button if you're ready to dive into this gripping story, and subscribe to Dark Truth Files for more true crime documentaries that honor victims and demand answers. Leave a comment. Have you ever known someone caught in a dangerous relationship? Your thoughts matter. Let's get started. Brenda Ann Mullins wasn't just a name in a police report. She was a heartbeat, a laugh, a force of nature in Baton Rouge. Born on December 10, 1979, Brenda was 40 years old when her life was tragically cut short. To those who knew her, she was more than a statistic. She was a mother, a friend, and a woman whose vibrant energy lit up any room. In a world where so many hide behind facades, Brenda was unapologetically real. Sassy, but in the best way, a close friend recalled, her voice trembling with emotion. She didn't demand attention, she just had this aura. You felt seen when she talked to you. Brenda was the proud mother of 3 children, and her world revolved around them. Her modest home on Joyce Drive was a sanctuary of love and stability, filled with the chaos and joy of raising kids. Social media posts, preserved like digital time capsules, show Brenda celebrating their milestones, birthday cakes glowing with candles, school events buzzing with pride, quiet moments cuddled on the couch. Comments from friends flooded these posts, praising her strength and devotion. "You're the best mom," one wrote. "Your kids are so lucky to have you." Brenda's love wasn't just loud, it was deliberate, woven into every decision she made to give her children a life of security and warmth. Growing up in Baton Rouge, Brenda was a familiar face, even as a young girl. Former classmates from Prescott Middle School remembered her as determined, someone who faced challenges head-on with a fire that never dimmed. While public records don't detail her career or education beyond middle school, her impact on those around her tells a richer story. Brenda was a connector, the kind of person who made neighbors feel like family. She'd stop to chat on the sidewalk, offer a kind word, or share a laugh that echoed down Joyce Drive. She was real, a neighbor said in an interview with WBRZ News. No pretense, no games, just Brenda. Her authenticity wasn't just a trait, it was her superpower, earning her respect in a community where trust is hard won. But beneath the warmth of Brenda's public life was a private struggle, one that would ultimately lead to her death. Brenda's relationship with Devont Obi Bentley, known as Juice Bentley, was a complicated thread in the tapestry of her life. At 24, Bentley was 16 years younger than Brenda, a rising star in Baton Rouge's underground rap scene with a growing rap sheet to match. How they met remains unclear, but neighbors reported seeing Bentley at Brenda's home multiple times in the months before her death. These visits often ended in loud arguments, their voices carrying through the quiet street. You could hear the tension, one neighbor told The Advocate. It wasn't right, but Brenda always held her ground. Brenda's life wasn't defined by her connection to Bentley. It was defined by her refusal to let it control her. Friends say she was aware of the danger he posed, especially as his legal troubles mounted. By September 2020, Bentley was wanted for home invasion, illegal weapon possession, and being a felon with a firearm. Charges that made him a ticking time bomb. Brenda, ever the protector, reportedly considered a protective order but hesitated, a heartbreakingly common choice in domestic violence cases. She didn't want to escalate things, a family member shared with WAFB. She thought she could handle it. That strength, that belief in her ability to navigate the chaos, was both her hallmark and her vulnerability. Brenda's story is one of resilience and sacrifice. She wasn't perfect, no one is, but she was fiercely dedicated to her children and her community. Her home was a refuge, not just for her kids, but for anyone who needed a kind word or a moment of connection. Her death would leave a void, but her life left a legacy. As we move forward, we'll see how Brenda's final act of courage, standing firm against a dangerous man, set the stage for a tragedy that could have been prevented. September 16, 2020, started like any other Wednesday in Baton Rouge. The summer heat was easing, and on Joyce Drive, life moved at a familiar rhythm. Inside Brenda Ann Mullins' home, the evening was alive with the sounds of family, kids laughing over homework, the sizzle of dinner on the stove, a TV humming in the background. Brenda, 40, was in her element. juggling motherhood with her signature warmth. But by 10:28 p.m., that ordinary night would become a nightmare, etched into the memories of her children and her community. Forever. At around 8 p.m., Brenda was likely wrapping up the evening routine. Her 3 children, whose ages remained private out of respect, were settling in, perhaps finishing schoolwork or watching a favorite show. Neighbors later told the Advocate that Joyce Drive was quiet, the kind of street where you could hear crickets over the hum of air conditioners. Brenda's home, a modest single-story house, stood as a beacon of stability, but that stability was about to be tested. At approximately 10 p.m., everything changed. Devont Obi Bentley, known as Juice Bentley, arrived at Brenda's doorstep. He wasn't there for a casual visit. Bentley, 24, was a wanted man, with warrants out for home invasion, illegal weapon possession, and more. According to police reports obtained by WBRZ News, he was on the run, desperate to evade law enforcement closing in on him. Brenda's home, he thought, could be his sanctuary. But Brenda had other priorities: her children, her home, her principles. What began as a conversation quickly escalated. Neighbors reported hearing raised voices, Brenda's firm and unwavering, Bentley's growing louder, more desperate. She told him he couldn't stay. One neighbor told investigators, per the Advocate. She said she had kids to think about. Brenda's refusal wasn't just about protecting her home. It was about protecting her children from a man she knew was dangerous. Bentley, volatile and cornered, wasn't used to being told no. His rap lyrics, filled with boasts of violence and defiance, were a chilling preview of his mindset. At 10:28 p.m., the night shattered. Bentley, enraged by Brenda's refusal to harbor him, pulled a gun. According to ballistic evidence later collected, he fired multiple shots through the front door of Brenda's home. The bullets tore through the thin wood, striking Brenda as she stood her ground. Inside, her children witnessed the unthinkable, their mother collapsing, blood pooling on the floor. One child, with a courage that defies comprehension, dialed 911. The dispatch recording, later released by WAFB, captures a child's voice trembling with panic. "Please, help! My mom's been shot!" Police arrived within minutes, their sirens cutting through the night. Officers found Brenda with multiple gunshot wounds, her children huddled nearby, one still clutching the phone. Emergency medical services worked frantically to stabilize her, rushing her to a nearby hospital. But the injuries were too severe. Brenda Ann Mullins was pronounced dead shortly after arrival, her life extinguished in an act of senseless violence. Back on Joyce Drive, police secured the scene, yellow tape cordoning off the home. Neighbors, now gathered on their lawns, whispered in shock, some already laying flowers by the curb. For Brenda's children, the trauma was unimaginable. Their statements to police, consistent despite their young ages, painted a clear picture. Bentley had demanded entry, Brenda had refused, and his response was deadly. Neighbors corroborated the timeline, reporting a man matching Bentley's description fleeing the scene moments after the shots. By dawn, Joyce Drive was a different place. A street marked by loss, its quiet forever broken. Devont Obi Bentley wasn't just a suspect. He was a storm waiting to break. Known as Juice Bentley in Baton Rouge's underground rap scene, the 24-year-old had cultivated an image of defiance and danger. But behind the flashy music videos and raw lyrics was a man whose real-life actions mirrored the violence he glorified. By September 16, 2020, Bentley was already a wanted felon, his rap sheet a roadmap of escalating crimes. To understand why Brenda Ann Mullins died, we need to unravel the man who pulled the trigger and the motives that drove him to such a brutal act. Bentley's music was his calling card, a mix of gritty street tales and confrontational bravado. His videos, shared widely on social media, showed him flashing cash, brandishing weapons, and boasting about evading police. He had talent, a local producer told WBRZ News, requesting anonymity, but he was unpredictable, One minute he's recording, the next he's raging. Bentley's lyrics weren't just art. They were a window into his reality. One track, released months before Brenda's murder, chillingly described shooting through a door to reach a target. By 2020, Bentley's life was unraveling. Court records, reported by the Advocate, listed warrants for home invasion, illegal weapon possession, and being a felon with a firearm. Each charge marked a step deeper into a life of crime, a pattern criminologists call a dangerous progression. Bentley wasn't just running from the law. He was living the chaos he rapped about. His disregard for legal boundaries was blatant, with videos showing him with firearms despite his felon status. This wasn't bravado, it was a ticking time bomb. How Bentley and Brenda connected remains a mystery, but their relationship was marked by volatility. Neighbors reported seeing him at her home multiple times, often leaving after loud arguments. It was like a storm cloud followed him. Brenda, 16 years his senior, was a stabilizing force in her community, while Bentley was chaos incarnate. Friends say Brenda recognized his danger, even considering a protective order. Her hesitation to follow through, though, reflects the complex dynamics of domestic violence, fear, hope, and the belief she could manage the situation. On September 16th, Bentley wasn't just visiting Brenda. He was a fugitive seeking a hideout. His warrants meant any arrest could lead to serious prison time, and his desperation was palpable. Brenda's refusal to let him stay wasn't just a rejection. It was a direct challenge to his survival instinct. She told him to turn himself in, a neighbor overheard, per the Advocate. For a man whose identity was built on defiance, this was a spark to his already volatile temper. His motive wasn't just personal. It was the culmination of a life spiraling out of control, where violence was his answer to any obstacle. Early in the investigation, police considered other possibilities. Could someone else have been at the scene? Was Bentley acting on someone else's orders? But the evidence was overwhelming. Eyewitnesses, including Brenda's children, identified him. Surveillance footage from nearby homes showed a figure matching his description fleeing. The lack of other suspects and the clear timeline crushed any alternate theories. Bentley's flight from Baton Rouge only solidified his guilt. The murder of Brenda Mullens didn't end with the gunshots on Joyce Drive. It sparked a relentless manhunt that stretched across state lines, tested law enforcement's resolve, and revealed the lengths a killer would go to escape justice. As Baton Rouge mourned, detectives pieced together a case that would hinge on forensic precision, witness courage, and a shocking twist. The fugitive rapper who thought he could outrun his crime was hiding in plain sight, halfway across the country. By sunrise on September 17, 2020, Joyce Drive was a crime scene. Baton Rouge Police Department's Homicide Division descended, collecting shell casings, photographing bullet trajectories, and interviewing neighbors. The evidence was stark. Multiple shots fired through Brenda's front door, her children's accounts unwavering. They saw him, a detective told WBRZ News. The kids were clear, Bentley was the shooter. Surveillance footage from nearby homes showed a figure matching his description fleeing, sealing his status as the prime suspect. Bentley didn't stick around. By the time police issued a warrant for first-degree murder, attempted murder, and weapons charges, he was gone. Investigators learned he'd fled Louisiana, leveraging his music connections to find safe houses. He had contacts in multiple states. A U.S. Marshal told the Advocate. Social media monitoring and tips from informants pointed west toward Denver, Colorado. For 26 days, Bentley stayed one step ahead, his digital footprint carefully masked. But his arrogance, posting cryptic messages online, gave detectives the clues they needed. On October 12, 2020, the U.S. Marshals Service zeroed in on a Denver residence. A confidential informant had tipped them off. Bentley was hiding with distant associates, possibly unaware of the murder charge's severity. In a pre-dawn raid, marshals surrounded the house, cutting off escape routes. Bentley, caught off guard, surrendered without a fight. He looked defeated, an agent told WAFB. The manhunt was over, but the case was far from closed. Back in Baton Rouge, forensic evidence solidified the case. Ballistics confirmed the caliber of the weapon, though the gun itself was never recovered. Gunshot residue on the door frame and bullet trajectories matched the children's accounts. Surveillance footage, while grainy, corroborated the timeline. The prosecution's case was airtight, but Bentley's defense tried to poke holes, arguing the footage was inconclusive. The judge, per the advocate, rejected these claims, upholding the evidence's integrity. On August 9, 2023, Davant Obi Bentley stood before a Baton Rouge courtroom to face the consequences of his actions. After a trial that gripped the city, the jury's verdict was clear: guilty of second-degree murder. Though prosecutors sought first-degree murder, the conviction ensured justice for Brenda Mullens. The judge, citing Bentley's criminal history and the domestic violence context, sentenced him to life without parole, the maximum penalty under Louisiana law. For Brenda's family, it was a bittersweet moment, a step toward closure, but a painful reminder of their loss. The trial, held in April 2023, was a grueling 5-day ordeal. Brenda's children, displaying unimaginable strength, testified about that night, their accounts unwavering. Forensic evidence, shell casings, bullet trajectories, painted a vivid picture of Bentley's rage. His flight to Denver was presented as proof of guilt, per the advocate. The defense's attempts to suppress evidence failed, and the jury deliberated swiftly. When the verdict came, Brenda's family wept, relief mingling with grief. Baton Rouge rallied around Brenda's memory. Vigils continued long after the sentencing, with WBRZ News covering a memorial where neighbors shared stories of her warmth. The East Baton Rouge District Attorney's Office cited her case in its 2020 domestic violence report, pushing for stronger protective orders and law enforcement training. Advocacy groups used Brenda's story to educate, emphasizing the need for early intervention. Her courage inspires us, a local advocate told WAFB. Brenda's children and family have become voices for change, speaking at forums and supporting domestic violence prevention. Her story has driven community engagement, with the advocate reporting increased volunteering at local shelters. Brenda's legacy isn't just her tragedy. It's her strength, her love, her refusal to compromise. Her home, once a crime scene, is now a symbol of resilience, a reminder of what's at stake in the fight against domestic violence. Brenda Mullens' story is a call to action. Domestic violence claims countless lives, often because warning signs are ignored or systems fail. Brenda stood her ground, protecting her children at the ultimate cost. Her courage demands we do better. Stronger protections, faster interventions, more support for those at risk. As we close, we honor Brenda not for how she died, but for how she lived. As a mother, a friend, a beacon of authenticity. What do you think could have saved Brenda? Stronger laws, better community support, or something else? Share your thoughts in the comments, and let's keep this conversation alive. Hit like if Brenda's story moved you, and subscribe to Dark Truth Files for more stories that demand justice. Your support keeps these stories alive.